Hey guys, it's Carl from Game Till Disconnected, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Zotac GeForce GTX 980 AMP Extreme Edition graphics card. The Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition is one of the many graphics cards from Zotac to use the new Maxwell architecture. Based on the Nvidia GeForce GTX 970 reference card, it's the top tier card from Zotac's GTX 970 range. As per usual, I'll give you the specs of the setup I used to test this card before I go any further. Also, here are the specs of the graphics card itself. Along with the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition graphics card, you'll find a DVI to VGA adapter, 2 dual 6-pin to single 8-pin PCIe power adapter, a mini USB to internal USB header cable, the driver, and user manuals. I feel the need to say just how well Zotac packaged the card. It was incredibly well protected, making me sure that it would be safe in transport. It also gave it a very premium feel. One of the first things that struck me about this card is how big and chunky it is. Like most third-party cards, it's bigger than the reference card. It's also on the heavy side, with a weight of 1.3 kilograms, so make sure you fasten it down properly. As this is quite a lengthy card, it would be a wise idea to ensure you have enough room in the case you intend on using. You'll want at least 320mm of clearance if you want to attach the micro USB to internal USB header cable. The top of the card is made up of 3 90mm multi-angle fans, housed in a plastic shroud with a carbon fibre-esque look. The 3 fans cover almost the entire surface of the heatsink to ensure greater cooling capabilities. The base has a metal backplate that shares the same carbon fibre look as the top shroud. The backplate, along with the top shroud, make up what Zotac calls exo armor, which they say reduces vibrations and noise, and the metal backplate helps with cooling the card. A closer look at the back will reveal 3 large capacitors, labelled Power Boost, that should help provide a stable power when the card is being pushed to its limits. You'll also notice a module labelled OC+. This connects a micro USB that attaches to an internal USB header. This provides real-time information on the status of the GTX 970 AMP Extreme via the Firestorm app. Unlike the 2 6-pin connectors of the Nvidia reference card, the GTX 970 AMP Extreme requires 2 8-pin connectors to power the card. This should help draw extra power, ideal for overclocking it. Finally, there are multiple LED lights across the card. These lights are part of what Zotac calls Light ID, a way to visually represent the load or usage on the GPU. The lights will breathe a green light during low GPU loads, and a red light during intensive gaming or heavy usage. Although, if you're not a fan of the light show, Zotac do provide a way for you to turn the LEDs off using Firestorm. I would have liked the option to customise the colours of the lights, as I feel this would have helped complement more setups, though I understand this may be easier said than done. The Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition comes factory overclocked with a base clock speed of 1203 MHz and a boost clock speed of 1355 MHz. You are also able to further overclock the card using Firestorm. You can see how this card compares against the AMP Omega Edition and the standard GTX 970 in the written review. Avid gamers will also be pleased to know that this card will support DirectX 12 when it comes out, so you shouldn't have to worry about upgrading when these games are released. It should come as no surprise that this card performs very well, even under extreme loads. It usually had a temperature of 27 degrees Celsius at idle, about 30 degrees Celsius for normal use, and somewhere between 65 degrees Celsius and 67 degrees Celsius on a full load. Even after running 3D Mark's Firestrike Ultra on loop 5 times, the temperature didn't exceed 67 degrees, which is quite impressive. You would assume, in order to maintain these temperatures, the fans would have to get pretty loud, but to my surprise they didn't get louder than 45 decibels. I also noticed that, thanks to the auto fan setting, they were only spinning at 66% of the full capacity to maintain this temperature. To see what sorts of temperature I would get, I reran the 3D Mark's Firestrike Ultra with the fan spinning at 100% speed all the time. They were undoubtedly audible, emitting 66 decibels of sound, but at this fan speed, the GPU temperature was 54 to 56 degrees Celsius. Obviously, this method is not recommended as it's a sure way to deteriorate your graphics card faster. You can, however, go into the advanced fan settings and adjust the fan speed to change based on the criteria you set. This card had no issues running demanding games. With Battlefield 4, I was averaging 144 frames per second on Ultra, and with the more recent game Watch Dogs, I was able to get an average frame rate of 71 frames per second on the Ultra setting. Of the games I tested, I never noticed any frame drops or dips in performance. The card has a variety of ports to support multiple outputs. 4K resolution is also supported at 60Hz through DisplayPort and HDMI 2.0, but currently I am unable to test this as I don't have a 4K monitor. Thanks to the included adapter, you'll also be able to use a VGA cable if you really wanted to. Although the Nvidia GeForce GTX 970 reference card supports 3-way SLI, this card can only support a maximum of 2-way SLI. I believe this is due to the bulky nature of the card. As this is technically a 3-card slot, you should be mindful that it may cause some airflow restrictions, either to itself or other cards around it, as the chances are it will be hugging the second card. Visually, the accompanying software Firestorm doesn't look that impressive. This may just be a matter of personal taste, and despite the appearance, I do think the information and options presented are laid out in a somewhat simple fashion. The basic interface displays the GPU temperature in the centre with 2 wings, the GPU clock speed and memory clock speed being displayed on the left, and the different ways to customise and overclock the GPU on the right side. You can see further information by clicking the More button on the left wing. Firestorm provides a way to further push the GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition. You are given 3 predefined presets, or you can add and customise your own ones. The predefined ones let you quickly overclock the graphics card without having to know exactly what the software is doing. If, on the other hand, you are comfortable with adjusting each aspect of the GPU, you're able to do so under the advanced setting. You will need to ensure that the Zotac GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition is connected to the motherboard via the micro USB to take full advantage of all the features found on Firestorm. As well as all the overclocking features, you can also view helpful tips on how to best utilise the Firestorm utility, flash and update the BIOS, and change some basic settings like launching Firestorm on Windows Startup and changing the transparency of the app. Here are the benchmarks we ran on the card. As you can see, the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition is a pretty good performer. I think you'd be hard pushed to find a game that it really struggled with. I'll be very interested to see what happens when we start getting DirectX 12 games coming out. If you're getting one of these, or if you've already got it, then let us know in the comments what you think. My overall experience with the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition has been positive. From taking it out of the box for the first time to installing it and using it, it's been nothing but painless. The design in the faux carbon fibre skin looks fantastic, and I think it will appeal to a lot of people. The LED lighting is a great way to visualise how the GPU is handling the task at hand, but, as I said, I do wish there was some way of customising the colour. Obviously there are a few issues here and there, but there wasn't anything that made me not want to use the card. For those looking to build a beastly system, they will have to be mindful of the 2-way SLI limit. The physical SLI configuration will also be a challenge, as this takes up almost the same amount of space as a 3-slot card, so it will be a tight squeeze, and there will be an issue with airflow. On a micro ACX motherboard, the second PCIe is all but dwarfed by the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition, but if you have no intention of an SLI setup, you won't run into these problems. This edition of the card is one of the more expensive GTX 970 graphics cards, but for that price you get a pretty decent graphics card, which stays reasonably cool without the fans having to spin at 100%, despite me running graphically intensive benchmarks continuously, which is quite impressive. After using the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition for quite some time, for playing games as well as producing video content, I really can't find much to dislike about it. The games that we tested ran effortlessly, and while I was able to use After Effects, the GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition did struggle with the more complex tasks, but that's hardly surprising as After Effects can be quite demanding. If you're after a card that gets a decent frame rate and doesn't buckle under pressure, then this should be an option. I'm also awarding the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition with the Gaming Till Disconnected Pro Class Award for its price to performance. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video then please give it a like and share it if you think it could be useful to someone else. If you want to keep up with all the latest in gaming tech, make sure you subscribe to us, or head over to our Google+, Twitter and Facebook pages. To learn more about the Zotac GeForce GTX 970 AMP Extreme Edition, head on over to our website, where you can read even more about it without me having to read the entire name. Finally, if you're thinking of purchasing this card or anything else from Amazon, it would be great if you used our affiliate link in the description below. It won't cost you a penny, but it really helps us out. Thanks again for watching, I hope to see you next time.